Okay, great. I am so excited we are ready to get started. I've been looking forward to this all day and want to thank all of you for being here, whether you're a parent or a grandparent or just care about kids. We're thrilled you're here. I know tonight will be a gift to all of us, and it's always a joy for me to get to introduce my longtime friend, Loisann Fowler. So grateful for her. Let me tell you a little bit about her. She is a native Floridian, which is rare. She is a mom of five. Not sure how common that is either. And she has a bachelor's of science in biology from Auburn University. She is also a nationally board certified functional medicine health and wellness coach. She's a graduate of the Functional Medicine Coaching Academy and the owner of Coach in Tandem, a health coaching service. So we're going to learn a lot from her tonight, and she is so gracious. She has allowed a few minutes for Q&A at the end. So if you have a great question, you can ask or put it in the chat. That'll be fun. So, okay, Loisann, I always come with pen and paper because I always know I'm going to learn something. Thank you so much for being here.
You are an inspiration to me, Leanne, because of your note taking. You, that's a great way to remember. And that's one of those things that I teach my young biology students. I teach some high school science as well. And, learning our learning styles is a big part of being able to remember things. And there's a real neural connection between the brain and the hand. And so when we write things, things get put in long-term memory more easily. And it's not so much true with keyboarding, but it is true of writing. So yeah, so that doesn't help us in our digital age where we like to do it really fast. But I love that you take notes, Leanne. It's an honor to say something that you would want to notate. I am really super glad to be here. I'm so thankful that each one of you is here. And because I am a coach, and a lot of coaching involves education. And then I'm also my side gig, you might say, is teaching science to online students. And in doing so, this is back to school time for me. So it is always a rush, in terms of energy and excitement to have the school year starting back. So it's fun for me to think about, and I was excited to be able to do this tonight to help us all think about what is it that's important about back to school? And why is it, or what is it that we want for our children? So it might be our own, like Leanne mentioned, it might be our grands, it might be, nieces and nephews. It might even just be the kids around your neighborhood. There's just something about us as adults that, we care about the next generation. And we're so appreciative of those who lead and direct them in their education. So, as we all think about that together, I wanted to bring, I thought, so I really mixed this up. I had spoken on a podcast last year this time. And when I went back to that talk, I thought, and so I changed it all up. So, you know how we talk about the reading, writing, and arithmetic, the three R's? Well, I came up with four R's. So, and they're not any of those three. So tonight I want to talk about how we can remove some things from our lives to help our children thrive. We can replace those removed items with other things that help our children thrive. And then these result in restoring and rebalancing in not just our children's lives, but also in our whole family's lives or even our community's lives, I would say. So, with those four R's, remove, replace, restore, and rebalance, I want to go through three topics and discuss the remove, replace, restore, rebalance around those three topics. So we're not going to hit everything tonight that I would love to talk about, but I do work with families. I love to work with families, improving their health and as a family. So. At some point, that might be a possibility. But tonight, we're going to talk about nourishment and movement and relationships. So I put relationships last. I know that's a little bit of a tickler, but let's talk about nourishment in terms of nourishing ourselves physically with food and nourishing ourselves with rest and sleep. So nourishment is really the big topic, but food is one part of nourishment, but there are other things that nourish us, and I'm just going to hit on the food and the sleep or rest tonight. So, what can we remove as we're trying to encourage our kids to get back in these rhythms and routines? What can we remove that will allow their brains to think and focus and be calm and their emotions to be regulated and them to have delight in learning that is more regulated. I know summertime is all about learning too. It's more explorative, but now they're going to be back in the classroom setting. So what can we remove? Well, the first thing nourishment wise, that food wise, I would love to see removed from every American home is the ultra processed foods. And I loosely use that term foods. They're really ultra processed products. They are, I wouldn't even, when a food has gone into the laboratory, been changed, its whole, look has been changed. It's been added to with chemicals and dyes and flavorings. To me, it's not really that food anymore. So those ultra processed things do a lot of harm to our bodies, especially to our little people bodies. They cause inflammation. They cause brain inflammation. They cause neuron agitation in their whole neuromuscular system. So, getting rid of those ultra processed foods. And what do I mean by that? Just anything that's not whole food, anything that's packaged, we want to reduce. Anything that has multiple ingredients we cannot read, we want to remove. Anything that has, lots of ingredients we can't even pronounce, that would be a no. Those things cause harm to our health. They do not help us become stronger and healthier and more resilient. So we want to remove those kinds of things, including those refined oils that you've probably heard about lately. And the processed grains. When we eat grains, that really messes up our gut microbiome, and that's super important to our brain functioning. There's a whole bi-directional um, physiological processes that are going on between our gut and our brain. And when we feed our children sugary cereal in the morning to put them out to school, we've really started them off in a deficit. So after we talk about removing, then what would I recommend replacing those things with? Well, first thing would be a good real food breakfast as they head out to school. And this can be challenging, and it might mean getting up a few minutes earlier. It also means reprogramming our children, but it can be done. And I would highly recommend getting the children involved in this decision-making process. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But replacing it with real food. Real food is what you would recognize as food, what your grandmother, great grandmother would recognize as food. Those are one ingredient, or they don't even have to say ingredients list because broccoli is broccoli. But 1 to 2 ingredients, and in the breakfast, lunch, and dinner, especially when the children are going to be away from you for a while, if they're going away to school, it's helpful for them to have a really nourishing lunch as well. So we want to think about good healthy proteins, good healthy fats, and vegetables. Fruits are super easy. So I know everybody includes fruits, but when you include those fruits, don't make it a fruit roll up. Make it a real piece of fruit. So a real apple or a real clementine or, even a real banana. Just real things that will give them real nourishment for their bodies and won't spike their glucose real high. And then after lunch, they have this crash in the afternoon during their classes and they're miserable. They can't focus. They can't pay attention. They can't sit still. So a nice, healthy breakfast to get them started that makes them feel satisfied, satiated, and strong for the morning is paramount. So that's what we want to replace the sugary refined cereals with, the muffins, the pancakes, those kinds of things. We want to replace it with some good eggs, a good clean unsweetened yogurt with some berries and some nuts or seeds. Things like that really, really help them start the day off well. Same for lunch, a nice balanced lunch. And then at dinner, then you get to refuel them again so that they are re-energized, they sleep well. So that's what we want to replace with things. So what about sleep in terms of nourishment? So we talked about food. Sleep then is, as you probably realize, very critical, though most of us as adults uh, tend to pretend like we're still teenagers and we don't really need sleep. We are above sleep. Yeah, that's good for everybody else, but I got to get stuff done. But sleep actually causes us to be more productive during our wakeful hours, and we want to model that for our children. So prioritizing sleep, first of all, stopping with the screens, at dinner time, making dinner time at this conversational time where mom and dad are also off of phones. So dinner is more about conversing, talking about the day, what's tomorrow, what are you looking forward to, what are you not looking forward to. All those kinds of processing of emotions during the evening hours helps them settle and helps them calm. So you're modeling that with them for getting rid of screens, getting rid of high energy activities after dinner and doing calmer things, playing a game together or having a read aloud. There's so many wonderful audiobooks nowadays. You could, not even be the person reading. You could just all sit down and listen to some narrator read that book, which is loads of fun with your family. So replacing those high energizing activities after dinner with calming ones would be encouraging sleep, encouraging calming, encouraging the processing so that when you play that card game and you get some laughter in and you get some of those hormones to release, you're able to then wind down and sleep. And so that's really important for replacing those. You could even do something like a family deep breathing, exercise for 5 or 10 minutes. You could do a family stretch, have 3 or 4 stretches and all sit around on the family room floor and, breathe and stretch and, get the kids to teach you a new stretch they learned or, bring in something that, oh, that feels really tight, I'm not, that hurts or, and then they just discuss, help them to learn how to feel their bodies and know when it feels good and know when it feels bad. Time together, calming activities really helps with that. This is restorative. These things are restorative, nourishment and sleep. I mentioned our microbiome, to balancing those gut bacteria that are really important. Now we know so much more. Every single week, there's studies coming out that our gut microbiome is controlling pretty much everything in our body. Um, eating really well, nourishing those gut bugs with lots of vegetables, good fruits, good fats, good healthy proteins, though that's going to restore our microbiome so that then our brain can function optimally. Your kids are going to be able to have a stronger immune response with all the germs that are circulating when they get back around their peers in large groups. It also restores their ability to emotionally regulate. So when we have sleep, when we have good food, and all the cells in our body are nourished, then believe it or not, our emotions are also regulated by these two things. And so we're able to then respond to the stresses of the day, to a hard relationship, to a difficult, situation that we were disappointed about. All of those things we're more resilient because we've nourished our bodies. And it's really rebalancing our hormones and our neurotransmitters. Those are both chemical signals or signalers in our body and signaling molecules that tell different parts of the body to do different things, stop it or increase it or slow it down or speed it up. So balancing those is super, super good for us. And so nourishing ourselves with food and sleep does those things, as well as um, gives our children the ability to read and comprehend what they've read, gives them the ability to listen and understand what they just heard. It really helps to balance in a way that slows the mind down to a place where they can actually glean and store. Um, I Some of you may have heard me say before, when we are sleeping, that's when the large majority of long-term memory is put into our brain. And so when you shorten that sleep, when your sleep is not good, the if we're thinking about our children as well, they're not going to be remembering things on a long-term basis. And we want them to remember what they're learning, not just to spit it out on a test, but to just continue to build their knowledge of this incredible world we live in. All right, the second area besides nourishment I wanted to talk about was movement. I like the word movement because it has uh, less pressure than the word exercise. Exercise is really a part of movement, but movement doesn't always have to mean I'm out there pounding the trail or I'm, majorly getting my heart rate up, though that is a part of movement. So movement is very important to our health. It's important to our children's health. And we want to model and guide them in good restorative movement. So, what does that look like? Well, some of you have children or grandchildren, nieces, nephews who are very movement oriented. They're active from the time their eyes open physically to the time their eyes shut. And I have one granddaughter who literally talks until she falls asleep. I mean, it's very difficult for her to shut down. And so I get that. Um, and so movement for others, though, who are more inclined to sit and read or sit and play a game, maybe build with blocks or something, movement can be a little harder and a little more resisted because they'd rather be still and quiet and enjoy contemplative type of activities. So, whichever one we have, we want any and anything in between. We want to encourage movement that is good for their bodies. So, what do we need to remove if we want to encourage movement? Well, we need to remove a lot of sitting because, as you've probably heard, sitting is the new smoking. The smoking used to be a really, really big piece. Well, it still is of cardiovascular disease and pulmonary disease. But now non-smokers who have sedentary lives develop the same amounts of cardiovascular disease as those who are smokers. So we don't want our children to go down that road. So we want to encourage good regular movement. Now, some schools, if they're at a traditional school setting, will have, PE classes and activities that are physical, and that's great. But some of them have removed them and they don't have that. So know about your school and then encourage your children to move when they get home. So they may need some downtime. They may need some quietness. They may need to relax after all the stimulation at school. That's great. But then get them out, get them moving, and especially in the fresh air because it is so good for overall wellness. And again, I'm going to go back to the brain because that's what we're using a lot of in our learning. When we move our bodies, whether it be with some type of dance party after dinner, or it might be family bike ride before dinner. It might be, going to the rec center on Saturday and playing volleyball or, doing a little pickup soccer game together. It might be jumping on a trampoline in your backyard. It might be all kinds of different ways to move. Family walks are wonderful after dinner too, just for conversing as well as movement. But no matter what that is, we want to encourage movement. Now, some children naturally gravitate towards team sports. Team sports are amazing and teach all kinds of fundamental relational things in addition to the skills they're learning in that sport. They're learning to get along with a team and, work together and do their part, even if their, teammate is not doing his part. They learn all kinds of things. But if our children are not interested in team sports, there's lots of other sports they can learn. There's swimming and tennis and lots of things you can do together as a family that they don't even have to get into competition with. Roller skating or rollerblading, all kinds of things. You can be way more creative than I can. So replacing non-movement, replacing sedentary lifestyle with movement, and finding out what the child is interested in. You if you could learn, how to play one sport, what would it be? And or taking them along with you. Say, I want to learn how to play pickleball. There's a whole new thing that started in Europe now that's called paddle. Padel, I think is how it's spelled. And that's sort of taking the world by storm right now, and we think it might replace pickleball. Who knew? But but anything like that that you want to learn as a parent or a grandparent could be super fun to take the children in your life along with and get them to learn and play with you. So there's lots of ways to do that. What does movement do in terms of restoring and rebalancing? Well, movement um, gives oxygen and all the nutrients that we were nourishing our bodies with to every cell in our body. So every organ system from top to toes are invigorated by movement because that moves our blood. Our heart pumps harder. That moves our blood, and our blood's the carrier through our vessels to get all this nutrition and oxygen to all of the cells that need it to make energy to do the things that we like to do. So this kind of thing, movement gets things moving. Movement also increases our immune system's ability to function because the muscles moving squeeze our lymphatic fluid. And that's just the fancy word for the fluid that carries all our wonderful cells that fight enemies when they invade our body. So it's super good for immune system strength. Movement is. Bringing increasing every muscle in your body's ability to function. And also what movement does is to reduce our stress. Um, it releases endorphins, it releases hormones that then give us a sense of peace and reduce stress. And so movement's very critical to our children being able to function well, to release what's bothering them, and to learn that for their future selves as adults. So in doing this, we're rebalancing the same things we did with food and sleep, hormones, neurotransmitters, they all can function better when we move. Our moods are also improved with movement. So that's a key thing with our children who are struggling with stress or with anger or with disappointment, sadness. Getting movement into their day and really feeling out how much movement your particular children need. I know I have 5 children. Of course, they're all grown now, but they each needed a different amount of movement and then downtime. So the next thing we're going to talk about is relationships. Uh, um, and and that starts with the relationship with ourselves. So I want to talk about what we need to remove, replace, restore, and rebalance with relationships. And I'm no therapist, so I'm not getting into that territory. But relationships um, is something that we get to model as the parents, grandparents, uncles, aunts, friends of children in what's healthy and what helps the relationship move forward. And when is it time to not spend as much time with that person because that person is really doesn't have the same values that I have, and or that person is really mean. And so spending a lot of time with that person is really harmful to me. So as an adult, we get to model that And all that movement and discussions at dinner and after dinner, those are times that we get to hear about those things from our kids. And we get to just listen and help them process those kinds of things. We want to take time as parents, grandparents, to evaluate our family in our even our family dynamics and family relationships. I know people in this very room right now, this Zoom room, that we've had to make difficult decisions about family relationships. Uh, and personally, I've had to learn how to um, have healthy conversations when they're hard with other adults as well as children. My encouragement in this whole area of relationships, when we talk about knowing what to remove and what to then replace, is to know what gives your children life and know what depletes your children. So being around lots of people might really give a child life. And so school is just a really fun place to be all day. But then for other children, it is a stressful place to be all day because they need nourishment alone and they need more time to replenish their energy supplies in quiet activities. So know that about your children, discover that, discuss it, talk about them with it. What did you notice? How did you feel when, you were at that birthday party and there were 100 kids, or, what did you feel? I'm noticing it's kind of hard for you to be still and quiet. Do you feel that? Or am I just discuss it, help them recognize who they are, because then you're able to encourage them, first of all, in their relationship with themselves. That's the start of being able to have healthy relationships with others, is knowing themselves well. And I think we as parents, grandparents can really model that. Uh, Dr. Mark is on the call, and I know even there have been doctors in my children's lives who have made a statement, while we were with them for those few minutes, that caused my children to rethink something, that I didn't even, it was not on my radar. So even when you have small moments with children, a simple question can really help them process things. Oh, I see you're over here. Do you mind if I sit and talk with you for a minute? And they're the ones sitting, not playing in the game. They're sitting on the sidelines and they might be having a fine time, but you can encourage that's okay. That's normal. And I'd like to be with you as you sit here. So knowing themselves, that's the first thing. What do we remove when we're talking about relationships? Well, when you know your children, you can remove them from overstimulation. So maybe they're overstimulated by large classrooms and all day school. Maybe you could rethink the schooling opportunities for your child. You can also really give them plenty of time when they get home to replenish and kind of unwind and get their energy stores back up. You can wait to visit and talk and ask them questions until they're ready to talk because they're just so overstimulated. So you can remove overstimulation, that constant time with others. You can say, no, you know what? As a family, we're not going to go to that play because we haven't had any quiet family time together. You can prioritize that in a way that models for them how to take care of themselves as they grow into themselves as adults. And if that's hard for you, if you feel like you're responding from a place of anger, or you respond from a place of not feeling good about yourself. Maybe you find yourself scoffing at your child or putting something they've done down because it wasn't perfect or something like that. I would encourage you, only because this is something I needed to do. It's not something I'm pointing a finger at, but um, to get into some therapy yourself, some counseling that would help you get to a place where you're able to respond to your children out of a real place of love. And rather than that anger or that frustration or whatever it is. So, again, this is about evaluating our families. So, removing things like that, considering counseling. Um, if we want to replace something, then for those overstimulated children, like I said, we replace it with some quiet time. Don't you know, neglect that for you or your children. We all need some time to process. And you modeling it really, really helps them a lot. When we are alone, our thoughts can finish. We're not having input from someone else to, sort of take our thoughts somewhere maybe we didn't intend. We're able to wonder, to question and just wonder. We might not have the answer, but those thoughts are able to move through our heads and our hearts, and they're able to then, maybe start a conversation later about those things. Uh, Quietness and alone time is really, really important for our humanness. So encouraging that with your children, replacing some of the stimulation with others with some downtime and quiet is actually a very healthy thing, even for those children who want to be talking and with someone all the time. Give them something in their room or something in the corner of the family room, some blankets, some pillows to build a fort and create a space and, send them in with their favorite toy, whatever it is, some Legos or some dolls or, whatever it might be, a favorite book. And let them, this is not talking time with mom. Nope, this is your time for you to be with you. And so we can replace it with things like that. It can also be replaced with one-on-one time with a parent. I love the idea. My husband instigated in our family where he would take children on a rotating basis. We had five, so it wasn't even once a month, it was once every 5 weeks. They would get to go alone with him to breakfast. And that built, just this relationship and helped them understand how to be one-on-one with someone. And just, it was beautiful. They were in a big family. So being alone was a little difficult. They shared rooms. So those kinds of things you can kind of come up with some, I'm sure, on your own, but without any expectations. Just let that breakfast date or that, you know, pickleball date or whatever it is just evolve into what it's gonna, the conversation they want to talk to make it. So those are some ideas for replacing. Oh my goodness. I am talking a lot. So this restores and rebalances us in ways that I know that you can surmise from all that we've talked about. Relationships were made for them. And when we are modeling this, this is um, this is giving our children resilience for taking on and responding to and reflecting and deflecting the things that are naturally going to come their way as human beings, whether we're small or big. So we know this intuitively, but sometimes we forget in the fullness of our activities that we, as the adults, are the ones who are the models. And again, I would encourage you to have conversations with the children in your life to see what's going well. What about last year's school year routine did you like? Let's talk about the morning. What did that look like last year? What did you like about that? And what did you not? Is there anything you'd like to change? And then you might recommend one change. Well, something I'd like to change is this, and here's why. And get their engagement in I have um, I have agency in how the day looks. Even though it's very structured when they get to school, I can plan my morning, I can plan my evening, and I have autonomy and I don't have to be rushed all the time. So um, help them understand that they can design more positive outcomes. They don't have to be torn and pulled in every direction just because that's the way our world is moving. So that's how I wanted to tackle our idea of relationships. One thing that our family added 20 plus years ago that I wanted to um, tell you about tonight is really a part of the nourishment. But it ended up being something that was way more than a nutritional nourishment for our family. Uh, One of our sons and his wife were going to try to be on, well, actually, Nicole is on tonight, but she's putting down a little 4-month-old. So she's not able to get on and tell her story, but I wanted to include their story in my story. So what we added was a product called Juice Plus. And Juice Plus is simply fruits, vegetables, even omegas uh, that are raised on family farms that have higher standards than even the US organic standards. They're picked, vine ripened, and at the peak of their nutrition. Then they are flash, freeze dried so that they retain that nutrition. And then they're at cool temperatures, they are dehydrated and processed into powders. And you can consume them in capsule or chewable. And now there's even a powder, a stick powder that you can drop in some water, shake it up, and drink it. And it's delicious. So 20 plus years ago, we started taking this because a dear friend, Leanne, introduced me to it. And we had some illness in our family, and it made sense to me. More nutrition, sign me up. Two things that my husband and I noticed right away. One was I had developed adult onset allergies. I'd never had them. I'd grown up in Florida my whole life, but we moved away, come back. All of a sudden, I had allergies, and they were severe. I'm a wimp, but I call them severe. So when I started taking Juice Plus, within a couple of months, my allergies disappeared. After about 5 years of having them, they disappeared and they've never been back. I am never going to stop taking Juice Plus because I am a wimp and I don't like allergies. My husband had chronic bronchitis. He grew up in a smoking home. He got bronchitis every year, at least once, and was in bed for a week with it. His bronchitis, the second year, was just a bad cold, did not turn into bronchitis. The next year, in this flu and cold season, he didn't even get it. He hasn't. I mean, he had his first cold, I think, in almost 15 years, just about 2 weeks ago. That's stunning. The other thing it did for my husband was to open up his palate to more vegetables. He was severely restricted in what he would eat when we married. And I'm convinced that the variety that you get in Juice Plus uh, built his palate. And that's something it does for children who are maybe picky eaters. So we started our family on it. And the wonderful thing also about Juice Plus is that the company has this program called the Healthy Starts program, where when you order it for yourself as an adult and begin eating it, you can order a child's portion free of charge. You just pay for the shipping and they get it free. It could be your child, it could be your grandchild, it could be a neighbor's child, your niece, nephew, it could be any child whom you love and you want to make an impact on. And that is a stunning thing that we took full advantage of. So my parents learned about it, and they wanted to start taking Juice Plus. So they each sponsored one of our children. So with our 4 adults, we got 4 of our children free. And it's from the age of 4 through the age of 25, like until the birth date of 26. So it was a phenomenal addition to our family. Fast forward to our kids being teenagers, and we have 2 boys, and they were several of our children were in sports, but I'm just going to tell you one of their stories. They were in sports, and one of the boys, who Nicole's husband, was is the story I'm going to tell. But both of the boys told me this. So they played football, they ran track, and they did weightlifting. So they played 3 sports, and they saw, and it wasn't something I, asked about. They said, I think Juice Plus is is helping us recover faster than our other teammates. And this was before one of those studies was done that's been done now on Juice Plus with elite forces and athletes that recovery is faster because all the cells are getting nutrition in order to repair after a workout. So that was before that study. And my kids were saying in high school sports, we think that's the only thing we're doing differently. And they deduced this. So fast forward to today, about 5 months ago, maybe Nicole, no, Blanton is 4 months. So about 5 months ago, they decided they wanted to start on Juice Plus. Ben was a restart. Nicole was a start. And they had some remarkable changes that one day I'd love for y'all to hear. But I'll just tell you a snippet. Nicole was pregnant with their second. She was 8 months pregnant with their second. So she was a month away from delivery. And she'd been taking it maybe 2 weeks, I think, Nicole, when I asked you, are you noticing any differences? So they took the fruits, vegetables, the berry blend, and the omegas. That's what they're taking. And she said, I think my energy has increased. I did not feel this energetic with my first pregnancy at 8 months. And she saw that throughout that eighth month or ninth month, I guess you would call it. And then when her delivery came and recovery afterwards happened, she felt like she was really recovering better. Now her delivery was different too. So that was a factor. But because her tissues, all the cells making up her tissues were being nourished fully with the added Juice Plus, that was a big bonus to her. Now, Ben, our son, is a Marine, and they're currently stationed at Marine Barracks, Washington. Uh, so his role now, this past year, has been the liaison between Marine Barracks, Washington, the Marine Corps, and the White House and the Department of Defense, and all the activities that they have to be responsible for. So he takes care of getting Marines where they need to be in DC with all the pomp and circumstance that needs to happen. There's also a lot of other activities that go on besides greeting, dignitaries from other countries. But so he has a lot of details that he has to keep in his brain and deal with and roll with all day long. So he decided to try a product Juice Plus makes called Luminate. And Luminate is something that um, has mushrooms and ashwagandha and some adaptogens, they're called, made from plants that really help the brain to focus. It also it's made, there's some caffeine in it from the coffee berry and really clean coffee berries. So he decided to try that. And he puts it in his smoothie shake that he makes every morning. And he said immediately he saw a difference, that his focus became clearer. And he didn't have to drink 2 or 3 cups of coffee to get that energy up in the morning. So he's at work often by 6 a.m. and he lasts until 4 or 5 p.m. Sometimes on event nights like tonight, he'll be out late, much later. That luminate in the morning helps him to be able to then see that big whiteboard that he keeps all of these things happening straight in his head. And he didn't have the jitters of coffee. He just had focus and energy. So those are my two little stories about Juice Plus. I do want to make sure um, that we have time for Q&A. And I also wondered if Leanne or Alan might tell a little bit about your story with Juice Plus. I know that's a little bit last minute, but um,
Well, absolutely. Okay, so first of all, I took pages of notes. This was absolutely an amazing gift, an amazing gift. Ah, so much fun. Thank you so much. And maybe just time-wise, just I'll jump in. Yeah. Okay, so I have been able to firsthand with my family and then just in sharing it with people I love, been able to see so many things in eating Juice Plus more than 20 years also.
Mhm.
But I made myself just pick three. So I've got three quick things to share just for our family that I've seen firsthand. First of all, I would say skin has been a really big difference. That's not, I was thinking about kids and back to school and teenagers and all of that. And that's not just about teenage girls, moms and the boys all care about their skin too. So that's been a significant thing. And there's actually a study that shows why on Juice Plus, which is beautiful. The second thing is I was thinking about a child that has had multiple surgeries, which is hard enough, but recovering better than expected time after time after time and no infection and all of that, I totally attributed to that incredible nutrition that they'd been flooding their body with. So that made that difficult time easier. And then the last one is we just get sick way less. Like you were talking about, Losiann, we get sick less. If we get it, it's like super light, no big deal. You're through it faster. And so much so, this impacts like all ages. And I know we're talking about back to school, but recently my mom, who's 85, lives in a beautiful assisted living place. She said, Leanne, everybody around here is afraid of getting sick. All the different things that are going around. She said, I don't get sick, so I don't feel afraid. Mm. Like, does that impact relationships big time? If you're trying to hide away, because you don't want to be around people, or you're open to being around people, you're living in fear, or you're living like, I'm counting on my immune system. Mm. And that just changes your whole outlook. I was like, I love that she feels that way. I feel that way too. So, um, those are my three. I could keep going, but I won't. And I don't know if anybody put a question in the chat. Let's look and see if anybody has a question. To have the opportunity to ask is an amazing gift. Okay.
Hello, Sam. What were the processed grains that you were referring to early on?
To
Processed
avoid
grains
or reduce.
to reduce, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Right.
Yeah. So, good question, Alan. So those would be anything made with a typical white flour, like the cereals, the muffins, the bagels, the pancakes and cakes and those sorts of things. The
I don't think butt cakes are made with processed flour. I sure hope
no,
not.
no, bun
Not
cakes are
those.
fine,
Love
I'm
those things.
sure. Well, and you bring up a great point, Alan. We want to eat well enough every day of our lives that we can enjoy some treats now and then, and our bodies are going to be resilient enough to handle that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we don't want to be, fuddy-duddies when it comes to fun with food. But we're not going to be resilient if we're not eating well most of the time. So yeah, love that question.
Yeah. Great point.
Yeah, and if anybody
Well,
else wants to unmute and ask one, that's fine too. You don't have to just put it in the chat since we are such a small group. And we could also, Leanne, stop the recording if you wanted to, if someone didn't feel comfortable asking
absolutely.
on the recording.
Absolutely. Let's do that. Great idea.